So our next speaker is Mr. Christopher. He is a CEO in Glee Tree Private Limited. So Christopher is the co-founder of Glee Tree Private Limited. He is the father of Gleematic, the company's flagship product, which is Singapore's first home-grown cognitive automation, robotic process automation software with artificial intelligence. Today he will speak on the topic working smarter, digitalization in finance. So over to you, Christopher.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
great. Just let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see the slides also.
Okay, great. So, thank you everyone for taking the time. I think the previous speakers have shared a bit about RPA for shared services. So, I will share a bit more about what is called the kind of projects that we have done, and also some of the existing real cases of how you actually really digitize, how you really implement these kind of projects into your finance. So I'm not sure how many people are from the finance background, but I hope that I will give you a good perspective about how AI and RPA can really work in the finance department. So again, don't mind, I will just keep this part. I think Atu will give me a very good introductions. And I've actually been speaking with not just in this event, but quite a few other international events as well. Just give me a profile by myself. So one of the biggest challenge that even in today's days, right, is actually documents. And one of the biggest problem about documents is that documents are actually unstructured data. Means that they are data that cannot be that you need to digitalize before you can actually process it. So a lot of time, but even though you may receive a PDF, right, the PDF inside the PDF are actually not digital data, but it's actually an image. So when we talk about having an image, it means that we have someone that need to do a OCR, then we need to do what is called intelligent document processing. Basically, we need to extract out the data from the invoices. But not only that, is that we need to understand the content right before we can process it, because sometimes people write terms and conditions in terms of like say, oh, we would like to request for additional free delivery, even though they issue you need to process this, or they, oh, can I actually pay this, and 2 years later we actually accept it. No, right? Most of people not accept kind of such a long payment terms. So these are some of the things of existing challenge that a lot of people have, and how we actually use that to actually AI, RPA to solve the problem. So is this a big problem? In developed countries, right, where they already have a lot of systems like ERP, accounting systems, inventory systems, even logistic system, right, we still spend a lot of time on this administration work, especially paper, or sometimes customer will even load the order through an email. How are you going to process it? That you need to actually check that the emails are all correct. And this is where AI come in, because the AI can reach a natural language itself. So let's put at it that say that whether, let's say I don't like to do digitalization, let's put it aside, because they always say, oh, finance is a cost center, it's not a profit center. So how does it really? I think it's a good chart to tell a boss that you really need to do digitalization. And finance, frankly speaking, a lot of time, right? I would like to explain more is that we can transform finance to be a strategic kind of function for your organization, not just another call center where we do what is called corporate compliance, do annual reports, but it's more than that. The key thing lies here is that research has shown that digitalization pay off. First, increase the performance. It deepens the focus on innovation. Later, I'll tell you why that finance play a very important role of innovations. And the other thing is how to create more value, because you have most of the metrics, the measurement. But a lot of people tell me that in the finance department, say, I'm so busy working, trying to cater to different departments, trying to do a monthly P&L, that I really don't have time to even look at how do I create value. But frankly speaking, if you want your digital, you can free your people from all this mandate work, or spending time trying to read a few hundred invoice a year or a day, right? Or no, a month, right? You will actually have more time to actually work on what is called real finance, by looking at how you can actually increase the performance. How are you spending your returns? It's all these are come from data. You can give very good perspective direction to the CEO, and say that CEO, you are spending on A project is not giving as high return as B project, and it's incurring so much of time and cost. And all this is where that you can start collecting a lot more data, because you need to free yourself from all this mandate repetitive work. You can do that. There are areas that look at investment in innovation, the return on R&D, where area, and this is where that when you allocate the right resources, right, to the right projects, right, in a company. This is where you see a lot of value creations, and can even use AI or even more predictive analytic to tell the boss, now I can tell you this customer have a better customer lifetime value, and we should focus on this type of customer. This is what the AI actually come in very, very useful. That's why I say the first thing we need to get rid of those low value work using AI and RPA first. So again, just some of the things is that's what I say is that when digitize, you will be more competitive. Because if you don't measure, how can you manage? There was this word. But the problem lies here is that when I talk to a lot of finance, it's not that I don't want to measure, it's that I don't have time to measure, right? Because I'm so busy. So the key thing is free yourself using RPA, redesign the job scope so that you can actually provide more offering to the company, to the organization, even if you are outsourcing partner. I work with outsourcing partner. They always tell me, oh, people cannot differentiate my service. No. What's the difference between entering one invoice to the system of human A and human B? I always say I'm more accurate, but they don't believe me. I always tell that we have worked with outsourcing company. Now they are not just entering data. They say that this invoice will have a late payment. This invoice seems to be a fraudulent kind of a case. Maybe you should investigate further. So can you imagine that you should not be just doing a data entry. You have to upgrade, improve your service offering. The other area again is that later we talk about how AI can do customer segmentations, actually even inform your customer on new rule and regulations, and can understand it, summarize for you, and of course protect against headwinds. And of course you need to look at how can we actually connect to the future so that you are future proof. Be ahead of your competitors. And this is where you need to adopt new technology, give it a try. Yeah. So what is a solution we talk about here is what is called AI RPA. I think everyone was quite familiar with RPA, but a lot of people still have a very weird concept about how do the AI actually help the finance department. Because everyone talk about all these people, but they cannot actually show very real example. If picture tell you 1,000 words, right, I'm going to show you a video that got many, many pictures, and that I think will tell you a lot more and give you a very strong perspective and understanding of how that can be applied in the finance department. So first of all is that generally, I will just quickly go through what is RPA, but I think probably our earlier speakers have actually touched on it. But I just want to key thing is that first thing is you can do it on your own. It's a no-code software. It doesn't change your existing application. It actually can do only rule-based. That's RPA. So that's the difference between RPA and AI. AI means that I don't write the rule. The AI actually create the rules for me. But how do the AI create the rules? A lot of people sometimes ask me this question. I say, wow, sound magic, right? Throw him some data and he actually create the rules for you. Basically, what they do is the AI basically learn like what a human. It's like learning from example. That's one example. That's one area. So basically, what RPA do is recognize the screen, control the application, and make decision. Simple as that. And this decision you have to define beforehand. And every time you want to change the decision making, you have to put in the rule yourself. Very simple. It's something like if else. If I see this data, I do that. If this value is above, so every rule I need to read myself. That is very difficult when we come to some applications where that you have, like for example, many different attributes. There's no way you can create the rule, or sometimes you just don't know the rule because the data will keep changing. So how to actually so again, RPA is good for certain application, which actually a lot of my clients have solved already, like in the finance, right? For example, they have to go and download the bank statement. This repetitive. From the bank statement, they have to clean up the data or do a report, or they have to download from the ERP one department data and then try to clean up and do a department P&L. These are manual, but it's good for manual structured data. Means the data already very cleaned up. It's very logical. You don't have a lot of rules. So this is what RPA is good for. So what AI do is that AI can do a few things is that, First of all, is that it can manage data that is unstructured. When it's called unstructured, we call nature language. Something that while I'm speaking in English is called nature. But there are many ways I can express. Like I'm a speaker, I'm a trainer. I speak today at this conference. So you can see that the meaning's the same. I'm actually a speaker, a trainer, but I can say it 1,001 ways. And this is language. Humans are so flexible, but the machine are not so. If you use the rule base to try to understand a language, right? Imagine just by saying that I'm a speaker, right? How many lines of if else must you write? It's just too complicated. And then you look at this word, but as we know, as with a comma, past tense, present tense. Can you imagine that increase the complexity itself? The other area, of course, images. A lot of time we need to check whether a signature there. You will not process an invoice, right? Or a bank statement. Look at it. If someone sending you a bank statement without the bank header, what do you think is a bank statement, right? So these are the things that you want to be checking. So image recognition come in, you do authentication, do checking whether the company stamp are there. So these are where the AI come in terms of all this checking. The other area is that the AI can read so much data. It can see pattern. It cannot see. We call structured data machine, or in the past we call it data mining. So basically, let's think of the machine can think and make decision for you. Okay, so what is it good for? It can make very complex decision. Decision that involve multiple attributes. Later, I'll show you some video to explain that. You can do data extraction, like human, right? When we look at sentences, right? For example, Obama is the president. We know the name Obama is a name, so we can pick up the name. So these are data extraction. When you go to an invoice, we look at a document, know which one is the invoice number, which one is the total. We can actually pick up. There are things that we need to interpret the text. We need to understand. If someone say that, oh, I'm not going to pay you for this invoice, but please process for me. Will you do that? Yeah, so you need to understand the content. And of course, we do image recognition to check the letterheads are real. It look like what you've seen in the past. The signature is there, the stamp is there, So these are things we call image recognition, how we can apply this in the finance context. So this is so again, AI already being used quite a bit, but I think there's still a lot of room for application. A lot of times to read invoice, document, process in accounting. You can also use for automation of payment. Why payment? Because we need to check sometimes that the name matching. Because a lot of time the bank, when they actually have a bank statement, the name may be inside the description. We need to match it against what's inside our ERP system, and the name may be truncated or may not be spelled in full. The AI actually can do this out of the cleaning, monitoring or posting of data, consistent check of documents, say the letterhead are there, read out of contract, pick up the data, improvement of processes. Later we talk about how we can use that to monitor process, and of course predictive analytical statement. So again, here I'm going to just show you a simple about how we do this for bank transfer for the RPA. And I think that's why I say video tell 1,000 words. I'm just going to play the video and explain from there. So a lot of times, right, we do bank transfer, whether you are transferring to your customers locally or overseas, right? We definitely do all these bank payment transfer, and then we need to pay sometimes, and a lot of time, all these systems may not be integrated because your accounting system may not be integrated with the bank systems. So here, I just want to show you an example of how the RPA actually do it, where we can actually log into the bank account and do a live transfer. So you see, that's why I say that you have seen a lot of people saying how intelligent work, right? Imagine that instead of you having to do this, the robot do this for you. So UOB is a Singapore bank, so I'm from Singapore, so I just use it. So, but it's well known also in quite a few countries in Southeast Asia. So over here, you click this, and then imagine, but we can do a scheduler that automatic run. It go to the cell, pick up the data for you, and then it pick up the amount that you need to transfer. Okay, we pick up the bank account number, we blanco it, and then it pick up the amount, it pick up the reference that you need to type in. Okay, and you can see this is how actually a robot do it. He actually open an Excel, go into the UOB website or your bank account website, select the bank. Of course, you need to preset this. Then you probably had the bank account number that just now you pick up from the Excel, and then enter the amount of $20, select, and then you want to put the initial of this amount, and then you can click a submit, and you can see that with that, right? So you have a lot of payment that you already kind of agreed to pay. You've done your ERP check. Instead of you having to go to the bank and do one by one, right? the RPA can do it for you. So you can see that, oh, how much time I save. Maybe I can have another coffee, right? So, but the key thing is, it's not about you having another coffee. We don't want to automate ourselves out of job, right? Right? Always tell me why I want to automate, because I'm not. It's actually to get more value added job, because there are a lot more things that finance can do by doing what is called free yourself, job redesign, and say that now I can do more important job. If you are looking for a job and you can tell a boss now that I can 1% do 10% job because we have the equipment, like getting an RPA, I'll be able to do all this and I know how to set it up. So imagine this is very important, that first get an idea. Then a lot of this software you can actually download for free and try. Indeed, we have a free version, and we also have online training video that you can try. Not just me, but a lot of vendors have it. You can go into YouTube and search. There are lots and lots of video. So my perspective here is that learn these good skills. If you're in the finance, you're not in finance, and they get the idea of how the finance can be automated. Okay, next one I'm going to talk about is account payable. Okay, so account payables are generally we call processing supplier invoice. Invoice coming are actually in paper. In the past, right, to extract this data, right, without AI, right, it's not possible. Why? Because all the layout will come in different format, and a lot of time, right, the words used in the invoice, right, is never fixed, because you have a product description. Your total is never on the bottom. It can be on the second page or third page. So what we're going to show you is that how can you actually automate the full process of account payable. So a lot of time we will have to transfer data as well. Later we'll show you how we transfer data. We extract first, then we transfer the data. So we extract data from multiple invoice. We convert them into an Excel first. Why we convert the Excel is because sometimes client want to do a double check before they want to enter in case there is really some error. But generally with client that they do this just automatically. So here we just want to show you, like for example, some invoice here that we have over here that we will need to process. Like for example, this invoice can be in this layout, this format. Yeah. What we do is that a lot of intelligent processing, right? They will be able to identify this is the right invoice by using image recognition to know that the letterhead look the same, the signature look the same, and once in process, right, you will see this output. Okay, you run at the back end, so you see this output. You take all the invoices and nicely convert them into Excel. You can do a manual check, or if not, some of the system allow you to import. But here will show you that generally, if system that you cannot import, right, what the RPA do was that you will just enter data into the system for you. So this is actually done by the robot, not done by human. So robot will actually again pick up data from the each cell inside the thing. Like human, they just copy and paste, but he copy multiple data point and store them in what you call a variable, so that you don't have to come back to Excel and straight you go there and enter. And once finish entering, you also can come back to the Excel and say that I've done this. I can proceed to the next row. So okay, this video may be a bit long, but generally this is what you do. You can take this data. Later, you will actually be able to actually enter the data, go to accounting system. So this is a legacy accounting system. And then you go to the bill, and then you start searching for the PO that you have done before. And then you can do a double check, because, as a lot of accounting, the bill are actually converted from the purchase order already there. We do a check that the quantity, the amount is correct before we actually process it. So you can imagine all these things we can process. And you can see the format just now is a single row, or here we have a different format, but no problem. The AI just double check and make sure that everything is correct. Okay. And then after they start entering the data. So you can see a perspective of how we do what is called the account payable process from start to end. So this is usually the most tedious process that our client want to do, about extraction plus entering. And you can even schedule this, whether you just ask your supplier, right, please send all your supplier into this email box, or you can just upload into what is called a Dropbox, or Google Drive, and then the robot will go there and download for you every day, and then after it just process or you enter into systems, and by the time you come back in the morning, everything is ready. Okay, so this is a very common one in accounting. Reports. And usually reports are something that really don't have a lot of value. Like working with one CFO, and the CFO was telling me that my CEO want me to generate reports. I say, why do the CEO want you? He said that I cannot let other people see the data. So only I can see the consolidated data. So imagine as a CFO, it doesn't make sense. Right? Why are you generating reports? So this is an example of a very common application that we work with a lot of clients in terms of the report generations, where the system will generate. But a lot of people say, hey, a lot of RPA can do it. But the key thing about it is that a lot of time you need to clean the data, because you cannot generate a report just based on, let's say you have fruits, right? If you generate a report for apple, orange, mango, rambutan, durian, doesn't make sense. You probably want to generate a report all these consolidate under fruits. Another report probably generate this considered like iron ore, or this is I think on electronic. But a lot of these texts, right, you need to do a first level cleanup, and this is where the AI can do the cleanup itself. You can read the text and say that this actually belong to the category of fruits. Yeah, so this example will show about how we generate accounting reports from the accounting systems. Okay. So I hope with this, right, it give you a real idea about what's intelligent. People talk intelligent, how does it actually really works, and real example they can go back and work with your vendors or anyone they can, or your internally, how can I actually do this? So this example of the reports that we get sometimes, okay, we have masked up some of the data, and we actually collect some of this data as well, okay, and from this data, right, we can do cleanup by reading the different date format as well. Without programming, the AI actually have a module, and then we can access the accounting system and select the type of report you want to generate. Okay, so this one is quite common in some of the accounting systems, and we can read the data and we download the report from the accounting systems. And after we download it, we basically can actually just insert the transaction period and generate all the relevant data. Okay. So I think I may be running a bit out of time. I'll just run a bit faster. But all these are done by the robot every day. And then we will generate the different type of reports. Okay. And we can even send the report out to the customer. So, okay, simple. Okay, now we come to something more interesting is like bank reconciliation. Very common where we need to read data from bank statement. Okay. So this example of bank reconciliations that we've done with, where you have accounting systems and you have actually export out the bank transaction and you need to go to the bank and do a bank reconcile. So some banks are not so smart in the way that their system will need to export the data into a PDF. We can extract the data in the PDF as well. And then after we do the extraction into the PDF, right, we will be able to do the cleanup, because sometimes you see over here, the check number is inside the description. So you really need to do a match. This is where the AI can read the languages and can pull out all these number and match for you. Yeah. So this is something where the AI understand the text and pull out the relevant words. And then we can match it. So in the past, right, we don't use AI, right? We only match about 60%. With the AI, right, we actually pull out this text, right, and we clean it up. And then with that, because the AI can read the natural language, we can match close to 99%. But still 1%, sometimes we still have a problem, because sometimes customer overpay or supplier underpay or overpay, or because of this thing, we may want to write off. But these are human things that you at least the AI cannot make decision for you. So some of these decisions are still need to let human to do some exception handling. So you can see over here, right, we can actually match some of these. These are not matched, then it will show up for you. Okay. So you can see how we can actually do the bank reconciliation and automatically put now for you. Okay. And why in the past AI can rule-based cannot do, and then after that we can even send an email of the bank reconcile itself. So these are some examples. Okay, I don't have a lot of time already. Okay, the next thing is very interesting, analytics. So what can finance actually help analytics? A lot of time, right, you actually got a lot of data, which even the salespeople may not have, the logistic department may have. But I think the finance department can better use of the data. That's what we call a data-driven organization. So what I mean by that is that, for example, right, we want to predict, for example, whether this client is a good client or not a bad client. Here we actually use loan, but whether you for banks, right? So we can actually predict because we got the data. So what we do here is that we actually assess the risk level. Like for example, with this type of client, usually they will not pay, especially when you provide installments or services. Maybe for this kind of profile of client, you know there's a high risk level. you may not want to give very good payment terms, or they may not want to give them an installment because you know that they will have an issue. It's better they actually pay upfront so that to reduce your risk level. So this is an example we call value added for organization. If not, they always see that finance is just a cost center. When you tell a boss that I'm not just a cost center, imagine that I help you to save how much value. If out my prediction, you have lost how many $1,000,000. So should I ask that for your bonus? Okay, don't say I say one, your boss here not happy, right? But I'm just saying that we really, if you're a finance person, you must show your boss you are creating a lot of value. If not, they don't see the value you're doing. They just think that every day you're just doing some data entry that you can be replaced anytime. Tell them that I'm being able to use AI to create more value from you. Okay. So this is how the machine can do. It can predict whether these prospective customers, right, at the end of the day, is it a good customer or not a good customer, a high-paying customer, not high-paying. It all depends on the attribute itself. Okay. And of course, this one is just now we talked about intelligent document processing, which I already showed you. But I just quickly run through like bank statement extraction, which I talked about that, a lot of times people got data with no column, we can do it. And you can do it any type of document, you can train the AI to pick up anything. Okay. So I don't have a lot of time. I just quickly run through because I have 2 minutes to time's up. So and again, people tell me, how do I consider for any deployment or AI solution? We've done so many, close to about 100 projects in the region, right? We can tell you one thing. First thing is that you need to understand that if you are doing RPA, right, or cognitive solution, right, if your data need to be downloaded from a system, right, you need to consider the time. I will one kind interesting. It take 1 day to download the data into an Excel before you can process it. Then of course, can you accept that 1 day or you cannot wait? If they cannot wait, then RPA may not be suitable. You already need to build API where you can process 10 million document or 10 million kind of transaction. The API coming, RPA may not be suitable. And there are things that we talk about AI, right? AI will take time. It takes time to process the AI. So if you're running on the cloud, usually even that you need to look at the kind of processing they can provide. So time and speed is very important. We have climbed that only after they implement realize that this application is not usable because they cannot meet the time constraint. Okay, so very important. Always tell can look at the time. There are things that look at alternative. RPA is one type of solution is generally suitable for whether it's like human speed or slightly faster than human speed. But at least you don't have to pay human cost, right? So these are the things that you need to look at. If it's too large a volume, is suitable, and whether the process are stable. Because for instance, if your invoice layout changes too drastically, the AI will spend a lot of time you spend time to train. So there is a training cost involved by using AI. So you have to look into it. So again, it comes to time, budget, and called return on investment. Right? The first thing is that if you only need to process the document once a day, it may not make sense. Usually we're looking at high volume, repetitive things. So transaction volume are very important. And so overall, again, any project, any AI is how does it help the organization? If you cannot answer, you don't just because my neighbor do it, right? Then I want to do it. I think that is not a good thing. So what's the overall thing? How does it help you? Or personally, you also look at your personal strategy. How does it help your career, right? So if organization, I think the key thing is that how does it improve the competitiveness of your organization by processing faster, lowering the cost? You can redeploy these resources for some additional, more value-added work. The other thing also internal alignment of goals, right? It's not just your department. You also must look at how to work with the sales. Imagine you tell the sales, yes, I need this budget, but this budget will help you to refer you better customers. You must get buy-ins. Buy-in from your boss, buy-in from even the different departments, say the sales department, the logistic department, operation. Okay. I think I probably overrun the time already, right? Okay, that's the last slides. And if you want to contact me or more information.
And meanwhile, they ask the question, this is a certificate of honor as a token of thank you for your valuable insight and valuable time, Christopher. So thank you for being the speaker today, and thank you for your valuable time and the presentation. So this is the certificate of honor which we are going to provide you later on the email.